Let's explore Abusir and its mysteries. It is dubbed the resting place of Osiris and is an Old Kingdom 5th Dynasty pyramid complex. It is a part of the pyramid fields of Memphis. In Arabic, Abu means father, and Sir is derived from Osiris. The Abusir pyramid complex is located on the Western Desert Plateau, with the Giza pyramids to its north, and Saqqara to its south. The three major pyramids of Abusir are Sahure, the earliest and known for its finely carved reliefs and exquisite Eastern temple; the pyramid of Niuserre, the most intact pyramid at the site; and the pyramid of Neferirkare, the largest. Between the pyramids of Sahure and Niuserre, we have the largest and architecturally unique non-royal tomb of the Old Kingdom, the Mastaba Ptahshepses. I will now show you the route of our expedition. We will begin walking alongside the southern face of the causeway to the pyramid of Sahure. We will pass the western face of the Mastaba Ptahshepses. We will begin our investigation of the eastern temple of the pyramid of Niuserre, where we will examine its different geologies and conduit system. Next, we examine the remains of the eastern temple of the pyramid of Neferirkare. We then journey to the eastern face of the Mastaba of Ptahshepses, where we investigate an extraordinary artifact, an exotic and mysterious piece of geology. Next, we cross the threshold of the Mastaba from the western face, and here we observe the enigmatic inlaid container. Next, we pass through the pillared entrance of the eastern temple to the pyramid of Sahure. Here we will investigate the many anomalous features of the temple, such as the extensive conduit system that still remains, and the many tool markings that are present. And finally, we will traverse the causeway, heading eastward, where we will investigate what remains of the Valley Temple, and where we locate its mysterious collection basin. All three of the pyramids at Abusir are in a ruinous state, with their internal structures in danger of collapse. Therefore, we were not able to access inside of the structures. However, there is ongoing restoration work, so perhaps one day we may be able to see what's inside. Now, let's begin our adventure.
I'm Lex Levy, and this is Ancient Odysseys. Today we're here at Abusir, and behind me is the pyramid and temple complex of Sahure.
Here we have a beautiful depiction of the Abusir pyramid complex, created by board chart. This is how we envisioned the site in antiquity. It is board chart's documentation from his early 1900s excavations that we rely most heavily upon, as there has been scant modern analysis, and you will hear me reference his works frequently throughout this presentation. We are now traveling towards the Niuserre Eastern Temple.
I'm walking towards Ptahshepses.
You can see the stepped core of Niuserre in the foreground, and behind it, Neferirkare. Here is our first encounter with a fragment of the conduit system. It is not clear to which structure this belongs to. You can see that it has been cleaved on the left-hand side. It is made out of limestone.
And behind me is the temple of Ptahshepses. You can see behind me is Sahure, step pyramid, pyramid of Djoser, Userkaf.
Perrin was the first modern-era excavator to gain access into the pyramid of Niuserre. This is his diagram of the internal substructure. The only other modern-era excavator to visit inside the pyramid was Borchardt, who published his findings in 1907, and this is his diagram. This photo was taken from within the primary chamber of the pyramid of Niuserre. It was captured during Borchardt's excavation, and you can see the colossal chevrons. This is a 3D rendering of the eastern temple of the pyramid of Niuserre that will help orient you as we explore. We are now making our way past the offering hall. The primary geologies that comprise this temple are basalt, here in black, used largely for paving, and red granite, represented in pink, used for the columns and some wall casing. Also, there is limestone, represented in yellow. It was used for the core in many of the magazines. Quartzite was also utilized in some pieces, and most notably for the conduit system and collection bowl that we will see momentarily. We are looking north through the first transverse corridor, lined with basalt. Here is a saw blade mark. At the end of this corridor would have been a red granite door. And here is a beautiful piece of Taurus molding that would have crowned the walls. During Borchardt's excavations, he found a basalt lion's head, and it is believed that several of these would have decorated spouts that exited through the temple's walls, with the walls being made of fine limestone and crowned with Taurus molding. This lion-headed spout that Borchardt uncovered reminded me very much of what I saw at the Temple of Hathor in Dinara. You can learn more about this in my episode 31, where I explore the mysteries of the Hathor Temple. We will now examine this segment of the quartzite conduit system here. We just walked from this area, the first transverse hall, and I did not see any evidence of this drain that was noted here by board chart. On our next expedition here, I will perform a secondary investigation of this area. We will now explore the Great Pyramid of Abusir, Neferirkare. It is given this name because it is the largest pyramid and it occupies the highest elevation. The data we have on the internal substructure of this pyramid is sparse, with the only two modern-era excavators being Paring and board chart. Here we have Paring's diagram, where he includes the hieroglyphics that he found within the pyramid, including Nebu, meaning gold. You can see the stepped core of the pyramid, and it is believed that this was constructed in 3 phases, with the third phase being a true pyramid form. This is a 3D rendering of the Eastern Temple of Neferirkare. It too was built in 3 phases, the first being made of limestone and sparse use of red granite. The second, mud brick and wooden columns, and the third, also mud brick. The extensive use of granite and a conduit system that we see in Sahure, for example, is omitted here, and this is thought to be due because of the early demise of the king. Also, there was no built causeway, but instead a footway of beaten Nile mud that led towards the Nile Valley. It is thought that a part of this route was later used by Niuserre to build his causeway and erect his valley temple, which at one time had probably been reserved for Neferirkare. Also, I want to mention that this is the first time that I have encountered the use of wooden columns in an ancient Egyptian temple complex. This immediately reminded me of what we saw while visiting the Woodhenge in Durrington, England. Could there be a specific function for the use of these wooden columns? Alright, we will now resume our exploration of the Eastern Temple of Niuserre. Here we are looking into the small corridor where board chart found fragments of a lion statue, which guarded a small passage. This small dark passage led to the door frame at the top of the stairs. It is thought that this small passage gave access to a hidden bolt which would secure the door. This is similar to what we see at Qasr al-Saga, the palace of the goldsmith in the Fayum Oasis. You can learn more about this locking mechanism in my episode 27. These are board chart's drawings of the lion statue fragments he found in this small corridor. We are now entering the courtyard, which held 16 monolithic granite columns in the form of 6 bound papyrus stocks. This is a reconstruction of the papyrus stock columns prepared by board chart. In the middle of the court was a large sandstone or, more likely, quartzite basin. This basin is believed to have been a part of the conduit system. The theorized course of the conduit system, as it would have been in antiquity, is represented by the dotted line. This is Borchardt's artistic reconstruction of the courtyard as he envisioned it, and it includes the basin. On the left, you will see painted limestone made to look like black basalt. And here is a drum base of a column. You can see the hole for a square peg to secure the column. Notice the irregular shape of the black basalt floor. It may be how the stone naturally cleaved in the quarry and would be an efficient way to create a pavement.
And we know that the Egyptians had pendulums. Because if you make a pendulum of one cubit, it will perfectly time.
Here we have our first encounter with hieroglyphics in this red granite doorframe. I'm currently learning how to read hieroglyphics, and I decipher this as meaning life eternal, everlasting. I am panning from west to east. We are standing in the southernmost narrow corridor, lined with basalt. Here, you can see the limestone partition that separates the narrow corridor and the courtyard. We are now stepping into the courtyard. You can see fragments of the papyrus stock columns. Here is the same set of hieroglyphics. I see a tubular drill hole. Let's take a closer look. This would have housed a metal component, such as a bolt. This would have been tooled out using arsenical copper or bronze, which is an incredibly strong alloy. We are now entering the atrium, paved with black basalt. And we get a glimpse of the causeway, which is largely still unexcavated. This is Borchardt's reconstruction of the causeway, which would have been partially roofed, with a slit for illumination, quite similar to what we see on the causeway to the Pyramid of Wanis in Saqqara. Now we will examine a surviving portion of the quartzite conduit system, beginning outside the entrance to the atrium, running under the basalt pavement, and curving under the north wall of the causeway, and emptying into an exquisite decorative quartzite stone basin.
And here we have a collection bowl made of quartzite.
The conventional explanation is that this is a drainage system for rainfall. But why was the water collected? And why was it collected off of a quote-unquote tomb of a pharaoh? And why did they use such a small decorative basin that would have been easily inundated? And why such a complex system for a time and place that is thought to have experienced very little rainfall? The conventional theory that this was a drainage system for rainfall just does not sit well with me, as I truly believe that something precious was being collected here.
You see the conduit here? And it terminates here for collection.
I was able to LiDAR scan the collection basin and the curved segment of the conduit system. This is an incredibly powerful tool for independent researchers. I am building a database of scanned artifacts and structures from all across ancient Egypt. Stay tuned. I am now making my way towards the Mastaba of Ptahshepses. But first, I want to investigate these dynastic tombs. I see false doors on the western face of these structures. Let's have a closer look.
Coming!
This is the Mastaba of Ptahshepses that was first excavated in 1893 by Morgan, who uncovered a small portion of the Mastaba, such as the pillared hall and some rooms. Then it was largely forgotten until the 1960s. Excavations showed that the Mastaba consisted of 3 building phases. As you can see here, with the yellow being the first, the green the second phase, and the blue the third phase. Ptahshepses was clearly an important individual, as his extensions produced one of the most complex and elaborate non-royal tombs of the Old Kingdom. His Mastaba highlights at least 37 titles he held, and he eventually attained the rank of Vizier. Now, we have the privilege of examining an extraordinary artifact that is not well known to the public. It is an incredibly exotic material only found in the following locations in Egypt. The container within the forbidden pyramid of Userkaf is made out of this material. And you can see our private access expedition footage in my episode 1. It is also found within the forbidden headless pyramid as this enigmatic container lid. It is thought to be the same mysterious blue stone that is found on top of the Great Pyramid. Another interesting characteristic of the stone is that when it is struck, it rings like a bell. My remarkable colleagues at the Abusir project performed a microscopic analysis of a sample they took, and the result was a fine-grained sandstone polymictic consisting of sharp-edged fragments of quartz and rare feldspar grains, enclosed in a sericite chlorite cement, also known as blue sandstone. And if you were to Google blue sandstone, you will find some incredibly interesting information.
Coming!
I'm following these guys. They know where they're going. They know the easy way.
And behind me is the temple of Ptahshepses.
We will now enter the Mastaba of Ptahshepses from the western wall. And we will enter the pillared corridor and proceed into the initial Mastaba and investigate these anomalous containers here. An interesting feature of this pillared court is that there are several basins and fragments of a conduit system.
There actually used to be a second. Significant difference with the ambient energy outside, and then you cross over the structure and it's just like a void in here.
I feel like I'm so much more calm.
So much more calm. I get the same sensation myself. So we're literally going to walk through here real quick. Quick walk around the temple, and then we're back out.
Okay.
But this is a do not miss portion of this site. I think I lost you. Got the rag, babe? Good. Okay.
Yep, got it.
All right. So again, you can feel it in here. Crossing the threshold into the center of the temple, these massive limestone pillars that have been eroded away in sand and wind erosion. A lot of this was buried underneath the sand. So this is the temple of Ptah, one of the gods of ancient Egypt. And if you follow me around in this direction, let's all kind of keep together. I want to show you something of the utmost importance so you can lay your eyes on it for yourself, and then we can head back over the wall. Ah, very good. How'd you get in here? You know the way? Ah, okay. Yes, I'm coming. Where are you going? Okay. Here they are, guys. These two in situ containers. And if you look down, the one in front of us is exterior red granite, interior white limestone. And one of the main things I wanted to point out here, if you look at the terminals on each end, one of them is completely rounded. The other one, if you look here in this top left corner, is squared off. So one of them is kind of oval, egg-shaped. The other one has been squared off. And they're adjacent to each other. So top right over here is rounded off. Bottom left down here is rounded off. And then you can see the one that's been squared off on the other two adjacent edges. And there's a shaft over here. So the shaft leading down into this area is over here. Just so you can see the opening into this shaft is down here. Yeah, no, ma fish moschela. We're good, we're good. Out here? Okay. And he's got an easier way to get out over here. But to get some pictures, because again, this is a very rare opportunity. We'll go out this way. Yeah. Okay, you can see here, look on the inside of this white limestone, that brown and reddish colored staining on the inside. So there appears to be some staining on the interior layer. So we're looking at something that is possibly 3 layers. A conductive layer, a dielectric layer, and then there's no telling what was on the inside. So that is speculative interpretation of what these things truly were. And so here, there was actually a vaulted housing over here. You can see these large beams here. There was originally an A-framed ceiling over this chamber here. So these large beams here were originally part of the, you can see the angle of the A-frame ceiling that originally came up in the center of this piece here. This underground chamber here, again, my initial impression, you fill this thing with water. Whatever was going on in here, that's subject to your own interpretation. But again, every time I see these shafts and underground systems, I immediately get the impression that they were filled with water, possibly salt water. So very, very interesting. Yes. Up.
Here you can see the layout of the initial mastaba and the primary chamber. This is the descending passage. In this 3D rendering, you can see the position of the containers as they were found by the excavators. And also, you can visualize the A-frame. This is a view from inside the primary chamber looking north, and you can better see the terminals, or lifting bosses. This is up for interpretation. Again, looking north, you have a better view of inside one of the containers, and you can see the precision of the inlay, which is limestone, with the outer shell of red granite. What is the purpose of this inlay, and why was there a need for such a precise fit for a quote-unquote sarcophagus? Another anomalous feature found within this temple are these circular holes. There's about a dozen of them, and they appear to be plugged with a stone. Here you can see 2 within the pavement, and directly above it are 2 within the wall. Here's a photo of Jeffrey examining one of these strange holes on the northern face of the mastaba. And this particular artifact has the stone plug removed. And another view from the western wall. What was the function of these holes? This concludes Part 1 of our expedition to Abusir. In Part 2, we explore the Pyramid of Sahure and its eastern and valley temples. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. If you want to help support our adventures, please like, share, subscribe, and pick up some badass Ancient Odysseys merch. The link is in the video description below. Also, please subscribe to our 2 new channels, Egyptian Trash Cats, where we document our saga in caring for the street cats of Egypt, and Egypt Eats, for all of our crazy culinary adventures. Thank you all very much.